Hi everyone, Sean Waldman with Secure Cyber, and this is your weekly cyber update. Well, our telecommunications network infrastructure is under attack by China, and it's been under attack. Dark Reading is reporting that Liminal Panda is a new APT threat actor that is targeting telecommunication networks, stealing phone data, and getting access to call records. So I know we've been reporting a lot on telecommunications breaches inside the US. This started back in 2023, actually started way before that when Dragos issued a report last year indicating that for the last 5 years this has been going on. But let's just go over some of these real quick. In 2023, AT&T experienced a breach that exposed 8.9 million customers to a third-party vendor issue. There was no threat actor attributed to that. Early in 2023, late February, T-Mobile had a breach. And then in 2024, this year, in June, Singtel, which is Singapore's telecommunications provider, experienced a breach. That particular threat actor was China-linked Volt Typhoon. We'll typically hear Volt Typhoon and Salt Typhoon. Those are the Chinese threat actors that we're currently dealing with. And then this November, this month, we've experienced breaches with T-Mobile, Verizon, and Lumen, all attributed to Salt Typhoon and Volt Typhoon, all China-linked. So the threat is real. The telecommunications providers don't appear to be addressing these situations aggressively. We believe that the methods at which they were gaining access are still there or somewhat there in some form. Fortunately, providers like Signal and WhatsApp and doing phone calls over encrypted systems like that have not been impacted. So we might be seeing a shift to doing more encrypted telephone calls or encrypted communications, especially if you're utilizing the public telecommunications network for sensitive business type things. You might want to look at those providers. Next up, D-Link is indicating that you need to trash some VPN routers. Yes, I said trash. We're seeing more and more of hardware providers just giving up and saying, not only can we not patch this, but you should physically destroy this piece of equipment. Nowadays, VPN routers really aren't necessary. So if you've got the models that we're going to list in the show notes, if you've got those, I think there's 6 models, just destroy them safely and take them out back with a sledgehammer and some safety glasses and make sure the kids aren't around. Just make sure that you've identified those devices and you've gotten rid of them. I know we just did the story about the telecommunications providers, but this goes into that story, just somewhat related. It's all about old equipment, folks. Almost all of these attacks, whether it's the D-Link stuff where they just can't patch that stuff anymore, people are just holding on to stuff way too long. So what we really need is a concerted effort where people identify the inventory that they have, whether it's your house and you've taken an inventory of the devices and how old they are and whether they can be patched. We're coming up on the end of Windows 10 to the point where you're going to have to start paying for support if you don't upgrade to Windows 11. You've got to keep this stuff current. You've got to get rid of old equipment. The telecommunications providers, you guys got to stop using routers and switches that are 20, 30 years old that cannot be patched any longer because threat actors are going to take advantage of this. So back to the D-Link story, use something like NordVPN. You don't really need hardware VPN stuff anymore, especially since we have software VPNs. This show isn't affiliated with Nord. I just happen to use it personally, and I really like it. So if that's something you're interested in, I recommend that you do that. The last story we have is yet another report and an alert from the EPA about threats to water and wastewater systems in the United States. The last report that we saw, or the last alert that we saw, was back in May, where the EPA was indicating that there were threats to our water and wastewater system and that there were alarming cybersecurity vulnerabilities inside those systems. Just this month, the Inspector General released a report indicating that hundreds of I think they assessed over 1,000 water and wastewater systems, and literally hundreds of them had critical vulnerabilities all the way down to small vulnerabilities. So if you're a water and wastewater operator inside the United States, it's way beyond time to have somebody come in and assess your organization and look to see where the vulnerabilities are. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but the first two stories that we talked about today involved old hardware, and I'm going to talk about it again. In the water and wastewater systems, it's all old, most of it is old hardware. They don't want to paint with a broad brush, or I'm painting with a broad brush. Some people don't have that old hardware, and you've kept up on it a little bit, but the vast majority of water and wastewater operators, they don't know what they have. They don't have a good inventory. Devices have gone end of life and cannot be patched and are vulnerable, and attackers are just going to take advantage of that. So, moral of the story, make sure that whatever you have exposed to the internet is current. Don't expose things to the internet unless you absolutely have to, but please make sure those devices are patched and kept up to date. If you've got Palo Alto and you've not gone through the CISA document that explains how to secure your web management interface, because obviously firewalls are exposed to the internet, you should take the time to do that, because there are active exploitations against the Pan OS operating system. Well, that's all we have for today. We'll catch up with you next week. There's a lot in the news this week, and as we get closer to the holidays, the news cycle typically picks up. So, hey, let's be careful out there.